What is an SJW really? From a centrist. Hey, it's Prince of Queens, and I was just watching a bit of footage from some sort of actual KKK rally or something in Charlotte, North Carolina, as well as listening to Tim Pool's account of reporters being attacked at the G20 summit, and I am thinking to myself that we might have a bit of a summer of chaos and destruction on our hands. Granted, it seemed inevitable to anybody who was really paying attention, because when you have the far leftists who hate basically everything about Western civilization, from capitalism, white people, the patriarchal men in charge, or even all men, and the entirety of the police force, then you have the alt-right, and then people like the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys, and other people who get a bit tribalistic when defending the West. When those groups rise in prominence, it's become clear to a lot of people that in a lot of ways, what people generally refer to as social justice warriors are just another side of the same coin as alt-right white identitarians, in which one group claims to want to give racial minorities and other groups privileges to make up for the legacy of white supremacy and patriarchy in the West, and then the alt-right wants to maintain a white-centric legacy for their offspring. That all said, I've long said on my channel that although few people admit it or even have a good enough memory of socio-political trends to really notice it, what is quote-unquote politically correct changes during each political administration. People generally associate the term political correctness with what is considered politically correct during Democratic administrations in the United States, or more specifically, what was politically correct during the Clinton and Obama administrations. That said, what is politically correct in terms of what is considered generally culturally acceptable during Republican administrations, such as the Bush and now Trump administration, are fairly different types of things, but few people define it as or call it political correctness. So I just think that that's a good thing to keep in mind as we proceed into a new cultural climate. Some things are gonna make people specifically mad now that we have a new administration and they feel like they are being represented in government. Furthermore, I was on a live stream just today with my friends Edindro, Sir Sick, and Clashing Ideals, and it occurred to us that the term social justice warrior itself was pliable in this way. I promptly asked the question once we started talking about it, are MRAs social justice warriors to you guys? And I started thinking about whether or not I could ever potentially be an SJW with my current opinions around social issues, because I have, in fact, been accused of being an SJW due to being outspoken about male issues. It was a total SJW who called me that, because I think I called him an SJW. Regardless, this is a paraphrased version of the definition that we came up with for what we consider a social justice warrior. And I think we were going strictly semantically by what the phrase actually sounds like. We decided it should be anybody who fights more for their cause and their identity than they do for any tangible justice. When somebody turns themselves militant with their opinions and then mobilizes to try to change the world with that set-in-stone opinion, they are a social justice warrior. They've become a warrior, no longer necessarily an advocate, but it's like war for them. So this person who's radicalized themselves in that way and no longer listens to countering opinions, they are a social justice warrior regardless of whether they are a radical feminist or a MGTOW. Being a social justice warrior is a manifestation of Machiavellian instincts that say that the ends justify the means, that achieving one's goal is the only relevant concern, that it doesn't matter who you have to step on to get there, and that what you and your group believes to be best for you and your group must be achieved, without being open to further amending whether or not it's even good for your group to do these things long term. When Richard Spencer says that he wants to expand white privilege, he is being a social justice warrior by this definition, because although his version of justice is drastically different than what most people consider to be social justice, it does appear that Richard Spencer legitimately does believe that the white race is suffering from what he calls ethnomasochism, and maybe even white genocide in the West. I'm not sure about the white genocide part because I haven't listened to him enough to know if he refers to it in those terms, but it's pretty likely. When Richard Spencer claims that he wants to expand white privilege, I'm guessing he is perfectly aware that he is asking for something that would definitely be at the expense of certain people that will be treated unfairly. But he simply doesn't care. It's worth it to him short term, as the ends justify the means. He wants to live in a white utopia or something. Similarly, when Tariq Nasheed or somebody like him asks for reparations for black people in the United States, not really knowing where the money will come from, and then some of these people are asking that white people go so far as to give up their own houses for black and indigenous people to have and live in, these people know that this isn't really fair to the white people giving up those homes. But again, they don't care about what is fair. They care about winning. That all said, if you are noticing a bunch of crazy madness going on in the world and you feel compelled to pick sides, I urge you, yet again, to just not pick sides. Don't pick sides, just look at it, watch from your fucking bedroom window if you can. Stay the fuck out of it because there's bad people on both sides. Now, I'm not against people having nationalistic pride or pride in Western civilization, nor am I against people being critical of corporate capitalism and aspects of American law enforcement. But when it gets to the point that you're telling people that they are white supremacists if they don't hate all police, or you are saying that the United States should become a European ethno-state to maintain the purity of the white race, then I don't really see why you aren't an SJW if you do either of those things. Similarly, you can be a sex-positive feminist that is in favor of birth control access, or you can be a dude like myself that spends a significant amount of time speaking about male issues like suicide and education. Obviously, I don't really have a problem with either of these things. If you want to be like Lacey Green is now, she seems nice enough to me. But if you decide that you want to smash the patriarchy and overthrow all men in positions of power and replace them with a matriarchy, or you want to create female sex robots and artificial wombs, both types of those people are social justice warriors, if you really think about it, by the literal definition of the words. They are acting like warriors for their version of social justice. Even though when most people say SJW, they really just mean fourth wave intersectional feminist. That's all I have to say for this video. Drop me a comment. Be like these people so I can keep making videos. The ads, don't know what's going on with that. And I kind of want to buy a better computer. So please do help me out. And, come donate to my super chat when I'm streaming. Okay, that's all. Bye.